Hello everyone, my name is Justine Chantel and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how I upcycled 3 pieces of clothing into a Lolita dress. These are the old clothes that I found around the house. The 2 dresses are pretty much old and worn out, as you can see. I bought the blue shirt from the thrift store for my husband, but apparently it's too big for him. I tackled the shirt first, as this will be the base fabric of the dress. First, I removed the pockets. And cut off the sleeves. I chose the sweetheart bodice from my pattern stash and cut it into portions because I knew I wouldn't have a whole fabric to make a bodice with. It's like making a collage to make into a whole bodice. I tried to fit whatever I can to make the most out of this portion of the fabric. This is why upcycling or even modifying is hard. Since you have a very limited material, you'd have to be extra resourceful and creative with maximizing it. I then removed the buttons. And cut the shirt in half. I cut the upper back of the shirt to get whatever whole fabric I can reclaim. With that piece of fabric, I cut the back sides of my bodice. It ran a little short, so I have to adjust my pattern as well. I folded it in half, so now I have a slightly lower back for the bodice. I did the same with the center back piece that I will make into a shearing panel. I continued playing around with the fabric remnants to complete my bodice pieces. and then I trace the pattern into the fabric. With the lower portion of the shirt, I trim it to make a rectangle and cut it in half. This will be part of the skirt. Next to reclaim is this gray chiffon blouse. I took apart the chiffon and the lining and cut the bodice part. Have a whole portion of the chiffon which I would cut into strips to make into ruffles. This is pretty tricky to cut without a rotary cutter, so I just eyeballed and measured the length of the ruffle, marking it with pins. And now I have strips of chiffon to put together to make a longer strip. Next is this dress with the tulle skirt. I took the tulle and the skirt lining. I then trimmed the lining to have a clean base. From the dress preview, there are layers of ruffles on the skirt, right? What I did is I cut the skirt base into parts to sandwich the ruffles in, since I don't have a whole portion of fabric. You will see as we go along. I used the same technique on the gray chiffon to make strips, and now I have the strips to put together also. It's time to sew. This is the center part of the bodice that I will now assemble. Always press along the seams, which I did off-cam. This is the center portion of the back, which will be the shirring panel. It's very common for Lolita dresses to have a garterized back to allow a range of sizes. And now we have the back shirring. Next, I made the 2 pieces of straps. I usually make dresses with lining, but since we have limited material here, I tried my best to finish this dress without using one. It's time to assemble the front part. It's slowly coming to life. Close the darts and attach the sides into the centerpiece of the front bodice. And now we have a whole bodice. I finished the open edges by overlocking it, which I did off-cam. I attach one side of the front bodice to the back. Attach the straps on both the front and the back pieces. Attach the shirring panel. And now we have a full bodice. ruffles out of a small strip of the gray chiffon. And also a longer one. I'm using a regular ruffler. With a smaller chiffon ruffle I made earlier, I use it to make this neckline accent on the bodice. Ta-da! It's coming together now. It's time to make the skirt part. I sew the sides to make a long strip and sew 2 straight seams to make manual gathers. To gather the skirt, I pulled 2 loose threads of the same side. And now I pin the garters into the bodice and sew. Almost there. Time for even more ruffles with this tulle fabric. I cut it in strips but with a different technique I did on the chiffon. I have this pre-measured piece of cardboard which served as my guide. This is faster with a rotary cutter and a proper ruler, but I don't know why I'm not getting the proper tools for so long. So we'll do this longer method instead. I folded the tulle multiple times like this and cut it into strips. And now we have tulle strips to make ruffles with. For the skirt base, I took this lining I salvaged earlier. It will be assembled in this order to make one whole skirt. I cut the strips to sew it together to make it into 2 long loops for the lower part of the skirt. The spaces between them is where the ruffles will be attached to make the layers. Ruffle time! And with the tulle ruffles, it's time to attach them to the lower strips we cut earlier. Done pinning and it's time to sew. Finally assembling the skirt. This is how it looks when put together. And the top part of the dress goes here. As a dressmaker, pinning is like a religion to me. So I take my time to generously pin everything in place before I sew. I promise, it's worth it. And finally, time to sew them together. And it's done! Oh my gosh, this is tedious work. The edges will be overlocked, of course, which I did off cam. I am crazy, so I made even more ruffles and attached it to the hem of the upper dress. Crazy, but worth it. Now attaching the ruffle skirt to the upper dress. Overlock here. And now we have a full dress. I'm quite pleased with the fit and drape, but we have to decorate it some more. I feel like doing this sort of cool Victorian skirt thingy at the front. I balanced the colors by adding the longer gray chiffon strip I made earlier on the skirt draping. I wasn't satisfied with the exposed seam on the ruffles, so I made more smaller ruffles to add here. To make the pulled skirt effect, I did the same manual gathering technique I did earlier. Then top stitch to set. Zipper time! Now I am making the bows to decorate the dress with. And more bows. My favorite part, decorating the dress. The top part of the gray blouse is still good for a cropped chiffon top. The garters are worn out, so I just replaced them. Also finished and added garter to the hem, which I forgot to film. And it's done! I made this as my entry for a contest on a local sewing group. I hope I win. I really want that prize. Even if I don't, I feel accomplished on having to make this and document it in a video to share with you guys. Upcycling has always been my game since I was 14, and I'm really happy a lot of people are joining in the movement. We have to be kinder to Mother Earth because we owe our life to her. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you like to see more videos like this? Let me know in the comments.